Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live from Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are here at a conference. But right now, in the background, you will hear the last stages of what was a wonderful afternoon for maybe right now, at this particular moment, the biggest heroes in America, the people who are dealing with immigration enforcement. Remember, New Mexico, Arizona, California, these places are impacted, or at least they used to be impacted more than any others. And these are the people who, these are the people on the front lines who probably did the biggest law enforcement miracle in history. 3 years ago, we were talking about 100,000, 120,000. 1 month, we were up to 250,000 coming over. 80% released into the United States. We didn't know who they were. We had a week in April when nobody came in, and the numbers are going to be less than 1,000 a month. I was in law enforcement. I think you all know Roger Stone, probably one of the preeminent political minds in the country and the world. People seek him out for his advice all over the world. But Roger, you and I have been, friends and supporters of Trump, and probably we expect a lot of him, right? Did you expect that he would get? Aren't you surprised that he's been this successful? I mean, that he's really ahead. He could have done half of this, and it would have been remarkable.
Well, Mayor, in all honesty, I think the events in Butler, Pennsylvania, instilled him a certain sense of urgency. And I think he realizes that he has 4 years. He can only be eligible to be president for 4 years. He's got 4 years to turn the country around, and he's on a mission to do so. And it's amazing how many of his campaign pledges he has already fulfilled. American people aren't used to this. Most politicians promise you anything. They deliver very little. He's delivered on closing the border. He's delivered on the largest mass deportation of dangerous, illegal immigrant gang member criminals in history. He has delivered on negotiating better tariff deals with our trading partners. Now, for the first time, we have trade deals that are mutually beneficial, not just beneficial to our trading partners. The largest tax cut in American history has just been renewed, fulfilling his commitment to end the tax on tips. No taxes on Social Security benefits for 88% of those currently receiving benefits.
And this is a program to help the rich.
Yes,
the rich depend on Social Security. How many rich guys do you think Soros works for tips?
I doubt that. So he's you've known him as long as I have, perhaps even a little longer. By the way, I was a volunteer in your first campaign for mayor. That's true. Something I'm very proud of.
I'm very proud of that.
Very, very proud of that.
That makes me feel very good. I knew that, but I mean, to remind me, that's very nice.
It is. Well, you're the greatest mayor in New York City history.
Thank you.
You tamed a city that they said could not be tamed.
But they are lowering the bar.
Yes, they must. That's true. I guess my nominee for worst mayor would still have to be Bill de Blasio. Would have to be.
Well, we haven't seen Mondami yet, right?
No, God forbid.
He could. Adams was hard to describe Adams. He's definitely better than de Blasio. I can say that for sure.
Only slightly, but
yes. Then he's very disappointing because he sometimes will say things that make a lot. Then he doesn't have the courage to follow through.
Well, I like to say that he's the best dressed mayor since Jimmy Walker. He is the shortest mayor since Abe Beame. He is probably slightly more competent than Bill de Blasio. Could be the most crooked mayor since William O'Dwyer. However.
Oh wow, yeah. You're paying attention to all those big contracts that have bloated the money. I point out to people the budget of New York State is 2.5 times the budget of Florida. 250 billion as opposed to 120 billion. Florida has 10 million more people. The budget of New York is the same as the budget of Florida. And New York is nothing compared to the state of Florida in size. So what are we doing with that extra money?
New York
We're
State,
stealing it.
New York State government is the most inefficient, probably the most corrupt, and that's a big statement in the country. We have, unfortunately, we have incompetent as governor. People forget this. She was a gift from Andrew Cuomo. He selected her as lieutenant governor. I don't know what he was thinking at the time.
Right. Somebody he could push around.
Yeah, I guess. But she's a disaster. And you see the results of the high tax, soft on crime. Oh, let's do away with cash bail. That was a brilliant idea. Now they've gone and emulated that in Illinois, as if the lessons of New York are not enough.
So how do you see that election? And should the president get involved in it?
I must say, I've seen a survey recently that showed that actually, this is New York City we're talking about.
Yeah.
69% of New York City voters are less likely to vote for a candidate who is endorsed by President Trump. 69%. This is as you know, a Democrat stronghold.
See, now this is counterintuitive. They don't believe this, right? Because today I heard Cuomo say I wouldn't take his endorsement, and Adams accused him of trying to get his endorsement and talking to him. So Cuomo's running away from him. Adams is being a little bit more. Adams said the very sensible thing, actually. He said, "Why? It's absurd that a mayor wouldn't talk to a president. It's absurd. I mean, I was the mayor of New York, and Bill Clinton was the president of the United States. We didn't exactly see the world the same way. And I wouldn't say I became his friend, but I have a letter saying I work with him better than most other mayors. I didn't do it because I liked him or agreed with him. I did it because I needed to do it for my people."
I think as a function of government, there's nothing wrong with the current mayor of New York talking to the president of the United States. Look, I'm supporting Curtis Sliwa because he's the Republican nominee. He won the Republican primary. And we won the Republican nomination. And by the way, he continues to steadily gain. He's making small but significant gains. I do think at the end of the day, the Democrat nomination is probably determinative. And it just gives you some idea of how the Democrat Party has changed. The old Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy, of Harry Truman, party that was anti-communist, a party that believed in capitalism, free enterprise, God, strong national defense. Yeah, they wanted higher taxes and more spending, but that Democrat Party, it literally no longer exists. It's not just New York, it's across the country. It does. The words moderate Democrat is now an oxymoron. It does not exist.
Well, we're going to take a short break. And Roger, can you stay with us about another 5 minutes?
Absolutely, of course, as long as you like.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Bravo, bravo! Oh, look at that. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
So we can find it. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live, which is coming to you from Las Vegas. This time we'll say Nevada. I never knew if it's Nevada or Nevada or Missouri or Missouri. I can tell you Missouri and Missouri. I don't know Nevada and Nevada. But okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I have too important a guest here. Now, I'd love to get his judgment on these things because you know something, Roger. When you and I'm not say, I guess growing up, right? Weren't there so many great political analysts on the Republican side and the Democratic side? And we worked with a lot of them. You did, I did. I learned so much from Ailes. I learned so much. And then David Garth. I worked with David Garth. I learned some. They're not around anymore.
Well, I think things have changed very dramatically. I mean,
you're one of them.
When we were much younger,
he's one of them. Right here.
We actually had friends who were Democrats, and we would eat together, we would drink together,
Roger,
we would tease each other. Now they want to throw you in jail.
Okay, so
I mean, you know,
Garth did mostly Democrats.
Yes,
but he also did Republicans.
Yes, he did. My friend Arlen Specter, for example.
You're darn right. That's how I got him.
Yep.
And also, and believe it or not, through Roger Ailes. Roger Ailes was my campaign manager in '89 when you supported me. When I ran again in '93, he was with CNBC.
That's right.
This was before he went to Fox. He couldn't do it. He said, I'll get my friend to do it. I said, I'll get some Republican. And he brings in David Garth. I had no idea they were good friends.
Well, Garth was among the first people in the country to realize that massive doses of broadcast television advertising is how he elected Hugh Carey governor. It's how he elected Ed Koch mayor. It had never been done before that. It really had never been done. Massive television buys on broadcast, which was
you do this
dominant
too.
Media.
Yeah, what they also did was take over. The two of them were generals. Other thing they had in common, if you went into their house, they had all kinds of books about wars.
Yes.
And military campaigns.
Yes.
And both of them, they take over the whole campaign in a sense that they would have to dictate it, but they wanted, it wasn't like they'd show up 3 days a week to do their commercials and leave. They were involved completely. They were making deals for you. And they also had a depth of knowledge that was tremendous.
Well, I mean, a successful political campaign, first of all, must be a dictatorship, cannot be run by a committee.
Right.
The candidate has to give authority to his campaign chief, and the chief has, he can consult anybody he wants, but once a decision is made, everyone has to pull in the same direction. A campaign that has factions will always lose. Nobody ever built a statue to a committee. Let's face it. So I think that some of these early pioneers of the modern campaign understood that. They were involved in all aspects of a campaign. Even today, when I work a campaign, I insist in being involved in all aspects of the campaign. Can't work any other way.
And you're very good at it. What is realistic assessment of what's happening to the Democrat Party? And what does it mean for us in terms of our ability to win? And
I think that what's happened here is the corporate Democrats have nurtured their left wing to the point that the progressive wing now is completely in the ascendancy. This is now the party of Jasmine Crockett, the party of Bernie Sanders, the party of AOC, the party of Yes, Zoran, the Ayatollah Mamdani. I don't think that moderate Democrats can't even win primaries. If AOC challenges Chuck Schumer,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure she will. She'll beat him. There's little doubt in my mind. She
He's
would
not
beat
going to
him.
run, right?
I don't think so. But
He knows that.
remember, she beat the chairman of the Queen's Party Democratic Party, Joe Crowley. She beat him, an incumbent in the primary. In Queens.
Powerful.
Very powerful.
He was a powerful guy in New York. He wasn't nationally known, but he was actually Pelosi's top choice for speaker.
That's right. So I think their party is now in a shambles. They can't produce a moderate nominee, and that's a good thing. While I'm not happy about the rise of Mamdani, who I think is probably at this point at least highly likely to be mayor, it will be a national showcase. I feel badly for my friends who live in New York, but it will be a national showcase because by 2028, between doing away with cash bail, between defunding the police, between raising taxes on white people. He said it. I didn't. He said it, which really means raising taxes on the working class to pay for free everything. It is going to be a shambles. The city will be on fire. I don't wish this. I'm not happy about it, but I think it'll be a graphic example for the people in the country of what happens when you choose Marxism, because that's what they're choosing.
Yeah, and I think they're not making any doubt about it. And I think, although I have never had much respect for Jeffries as a thinker or whatever, whether he made this statement or not, it's certainly attributed to him, that Mamdani is going to be a disaster for their chances to hold on to the House, because we'll run against him everywhere.
Yes,
and of course we're crazy if we don't. I remember in 2010, that was the congressional campaign. For some reason, I think I was the most involved in it. Probably did 50 appearances and about 70 commercials. They were easy to do. We were running against Nancy Pelosi. And she made a remarkable comeback. We defeated her in 2010. We took over the House because we put to the American people, if you vote for the guy who pretends to be moderate in Pennsylvania, you're really voting for her.
Good point.
Do you want her? And it worked beautifully. Now, she worked her way out of it because she is one hell of a skillful politician. But she was the reason for their defeat. And it was Gingrich who really thought of that, of focusing on her. Mamdani's much more powerful, negative than she was.
Yeah, I think to the extent that we can nationalize the off-year elections.
And Pocahontas said that he should be the face of our party. Is she crazy?
First of all, she's such a fraud. This is a woman who props herself up with giant contributions from banks and from big pharma. Yeah, she's constantly talking about how she's for the little person. And then there's a famous video where she says, "I think I'm going to get me a beer. Please, Professor, you're an educated woman." Who is that supposed to appeal to? I find her to be the most egregious fraud in the Democrat Party. The only one who's worse is Bernie. You say Bernie Sanders ran for president. He and his wife skimmed millions of dollars in media placement fees from his two presidential campaigns, which is not illegal. But of course, he never discloses this to his donors. You notice now he doesn't attack millionaires and billionaires. Now he just attacks billionaires. You know why? Because Bernie is a millionaire. It's like socialism for thee, but not for Comrade Bernie.
Well, how does it all resolve itself? We ever get a more sensible country back where we're a little closer together and we can meet in the middle?
Well, I think the president is right when he says the greatest revenge is great success for the country.
Yes,
it's not about revenge. It's not about retribution. Although those who try to destroy me, try to destroy the president, try to destroy General Flynn, certainly tried to destroy you. Yes, I do think there should be some penalty for that. Yeah. Sorry, but it's not about retribution. It's about rebalancing the scales of justice so we have one system, where if Dr. Fauci lies under oath about a significant matter, then he should be prosecuted, for example. But beyond that, the president is going to usher in here, I think, an unprecedented age. He calls it the golden age: peace, prosperity, security, justice, and law and order. And then we can, I think, galvanize a permanent majority that's not just Republicans, but common sense minded Democrats, independents, libertarians, free thinkers. I think that having Democrats like Bobby Kennedy, like Tulsi Gabbard, who's now become a Republican, like Rod Blagojevich. I mean, common sense Democrats have gravitated to the presidents. And as you know, Trumpism, the America First agenda, the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, I should say, the MAGA movement in the country is much bigger and much broader than the Republican Party will ever be.
No question about it.
This is why Trump wins and John McCain and Mitt Romney lose. Trump can appeal to certain voters, has opened their minds to certain voters that we couldn't get previously. And now we got to galvanize that into a permanent majority.
So I try to remind people about what has to be done with all of their corruption, because from about 2015, 2016, when the scheme developed to use Russian inclusion to disrupt Trump's campaign, and then when that failed, as Agent Strzok said to his mistress, "Don't worry, we have insurance."
Yes.
Insurance was, we're going to revive it, even though the FBI found there was no evidence to it. They all knew about that. They all knew back in the beginning of the year that Hillary was paying for the Steele report. Steele had never been in Russia. He had been in Ukraine. Half the information he got from Ukraine. There's enormous evidence of this. And this has to be revealed. And I prosecuted for a long time. I don't think I've ever prosecuted anybody out of vengeance. I prosecuted for deterrence. I want these people prosecuted, not necessarily because they hurt me. They hurt me, but a little bit. They hurt the whole country. They put our country in a situation that I never imagined as a fairly moderate Republican. I used to be, I'm not anymore, that ever could happen. I believe that from 15 until Trump got elected in 24, it was the darkest day for human rights, civil rights in America. We have become something different. And they did it to us. It can never happen again. The only way it's never going to happen again if they're held to account. That's called deterrence. And I really think if we had prosecuted them, and the president and I have a little disagreement here, because I urged prosecuting Hillary. I even offered to prosecute in 16, 17. I said, she's got to get prosecuted. That you can't bust up all those emails, destroy documents live 15 times and have a case fixed and not get prosecuted. I'm sorry. Other citizens who follow the law are going to say, what's going on? And he had and then I was persuaded by his, what I thought was wiser decision, which is we don't want to become like that. We don't want to become like the banana republics. And then, of course, they became the banana republics as soon as they got in office. And I've always wondered, maybe even not her, if we had prosecuted Comey and Brennan and Clapper, maybe they wouldn't have gone as far with you and me and everybody else. I don't know. Who knows? But deterrence, going back to the common law, deterrence is one of the two major purposes of the criminal law.
Yeah, but look,
justice and deterrence.
But look how long it has taken us to get the unvarnished, now indisputable truth.
And they're still disputing it.
Yeah, they're trying, but it is hopeless. I give enormous credit to Tulsi Gabbard. I must tell you, I am more impressed with her than I have been of any political figure since I worked for Ronald Reagan, and he was, as we both know, the best. She's one of the most sure-footed, confident, principled people I've ever seen in politics. The time came during her confirmations when a certain Republican senator took the position that unless she recanted something she had said about Edward Snowden, that he couldn't vote for her. And I got a call from somebody in the president's entourage because they knew that Tulsi and I were good friends. And they said, can you talk to her? And I said, yes, but I'm going to be wasting my breath. She's not going to trim her principles. She's not going to denounce something she really believes in order to get confirmed. That's just not going to happen. Now, ultimately, that senator relented, but it showed me, and I did ask her, and she said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do that. She's a woman of enormous principle, enormous talent. I think she's going to be the first woman president. Not necessarily in 2028, but she's only 43. She's a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve. She's an Iraq combat veteran. She's a championship surfer. She's a crack shot. She's an amazing woman, and and I'm really glad that
I'm
she
very
decided
happy to hear
become a
that.
Republican.
I'm very impressed with her. I'm very impressed with her also. And I think that, I just know she has enormous courage. Remember the statement that Schumer made toward the beginning of the Trump administration when Trump was going after the intelligence services and saying they were taping him, and he said, "They'll eventually destroy you. This is really stupid what he's doing. They'll eventually destroy you."
Yep.
He's absolutely right. And it's the reason why we never did. It's the reason why Pompeo's not in the administration.
Correct.
Pompeo is a very good man, very nice man, very intelligent man. He was afraid to go after the CIA people. He left it with that silly woman there who really helped with the 2020 fraud. And he left the CIA totally unaddressed, not because he didn't know that they don't serve the country, because he was afraid what they would do to him. I mean, the CIA can destroy you. That's what that's what they tried to do to Trump. And it's amazing that Schumer, in one of his few times when he was honest, just blurts out Trump's making a big mistake because the Secret Service, the CIA gets everybody.
It's true.
Now she went against the CIA. All the intelligence services, as far as I can tell, to this late day, were imploring her not to put this out.
That is absolutely true. She won.
Which means that she knows, because she's smart, they're going to try to destroy me if they haven't tried to destroy me.
Well, they already tried to label her as a Russian asset, which is, of course, absurd.
Yeah, me too.
Absurd. There's no question. I mean, look, I thought that it was good that the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, put out his report on John Brennan. On the other hand, it was the most shallow possible analysis of events. Oh, they said the Steele dossier didn't measure up to our standards of statecraft. No, the Steele dossier is a stone cold fugazi. It is a complete fabrication.
You know, when I
say.
figured that out, I was representing Trump when that was first presented to me. The night I read it, I mean, I've read probably 1,000 intelligence reports. I said, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's a fraud.
This wasn't written by a peeing on a bed.
But they
peeing
knew,
on a bed.
But they knew that. I mean, Andrew Weissman.
Trump was a Russian agent 20 years ago.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, right. He was a Russian agent 20 years ago. You could tell. I didn't know anything about Steele. I didn't know anything about the fact that he hadn't been in Russia in 17 years. He had been dismissed as a liar 3 times. The Ukrainians wrote half of that, which I eventually found out. The minute I wrote it as a professional, since I started the FISA court, and I probably have read 100 FISA affidavits. They're not written this way. They're written in a serious. It's useless to me if you just give me a report of what Roger Stone or Steele thinks. You got to give me support. Nothing in there support. And then James Cardinal Comey announces it was impossible to verify the report. There was nothing there where you could look for corroboration, so we had to go with it. Well, how about the fact that they said that Michael Cohen went to Prague and met with 2 Russian agents? Well, I think, I'm not second guessing, first thing I would have done is check his passport.
Of course.
And I would have put that in the affidavit to show, well, the passport shows he's never been in.
No, you
Then I would have said, could you find out for me where he was? Well, he was in Los Angeles. Or how about we went to the Ukrainian consulate in Miami and got a visa. I would have called the Ukrainian consulate in Miami and found that they don't have one. I can give you about 10 of these things in that. The reason I was so fixated on that is Comey worked for me. I hired Comey. I created Comey. There's a tremendous guilt here. The only way I get away with is Trump says to me, you have poor choice in people. I say to him, but you hired Michael Cohen.
Good point. Look, I went through this myself. The Washington Post came up with this idea that I had one weekend, I had somehow flown to London to meet with Julian Assange. I had slipped into the embassy undetected. And of course, I published screenshots of my passport. That was a weekend I happened to be in Los Angeles. I'd gone to a deli. I had a receipt for a pastrami sandwich that I bought. I produced that as well, plus my hotel bill. I mean, you cannot fly out of the country without leaving an indelible record. And the Ecuadorian embassy in London probably had more cameras on it than any place on earth. But the Washington Post and Robert Mueller's thugs kept insisting that I had flown to London to meet Julian Assange, which of course was complete nonsense. But that didn't stop the Washington Post from putting it on page 1.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say who had the worst thing done to them. I think of Bannon in jail and Navarro in jail, and Navarro with the leg irons on, which I cannot figure out for the life of me. I don't remember. I was a federal prosecutor for 20 years at all different levels. I never remember using leg irons, even on the mafia. We didn't use leg irons. I don't know who you use leg irons. I prosecuted Nazis. I prosecuted terrorists. I don't even remember seeing a leg iron. Why they put leg irons on Navarro? But why did they show up with Gestapo troops at your house?
I think
do you have a machine gun?
I didn't. There was no gun in the house, and they knew that. No, the irony here, of course, is my attorneys had spoken to the special counsel's office the day before. We turned over 30 pages of text messages, which actually proved that I was telling the truth. They had no interest in that. They could have said at that point, "Oh, by the way, we're charging your client tomorrow. Bring him in." Of course, I would have voluntarily turned myself in. Instead, at 6 o'clock in the morning, 29 heavily armed FBI agents in full SWAT gear, wearing night goggles, brandishing M4 assault weapons, surround my home, pound on the door. They bring a battering ram up to the door as if I'm not going to open it, to take me in custody for the first time, nonviolent alleged crime of lying under oath to Congress in my voluntary testimony. It really does. It boggles the mind. And I think it was about intimidation. They ultimately would come back and basically say, you need to cooperate or we're going to hit you with the subject.
Did they really think they were going to crack you that way?
Yeah, they didn't understand that I'm.
Well, people.
They didn't understand that I'm half Sicilian. They didn't understand that.
Well, people. So there were crazy reporters. You probably read it as much as I did because I was on top of all of that. But there were crazy reporters who thought they would.
Yeah.
Oh, this could be a big breakthrough. This could be a big breakthrough for the special prosecutor, putting tremendous amount of pressure on Roger Stone. We'll have to see if Roger Stone cracks.
Look,
you were the fifth. They did that with those things.
It was an absurdity. I mean, in a weird way.
The president immediately. I was with the president that morning when we found out about it. He was fit to be tied.
Yeah, he was not very happy.
And I said, "You can't react." Yeah. I said, how about a calm reaction? We don't need just calm reaction. This is the wrong thing to do. That's all.
Well,
you're going to get to remedy it. So,
in an odd sense, I would not have been able to raise the money for my legal defense if I'd quietly turned myself in. I'm not the most lovable person in the world, but they made me into a sympathetic figure. And average Americans could look at that and see how completely over the top it was.
Yeah.
My real concern, Mayor, was that my wife is hard of hearing. She was no one else in the house. I've got these FBI agents running up the stairs. I'm afraid they're going to issue an order. She's not going to hear them. She slept through the whole thing. She wakes up looking down the barrel of 2 long rifles. She doesn't know if this is a home invasion. She has no idea what's going on. She was unaware of the fact that I had been arrested. She slept through the whole thing because she without her hearing aids, she is virtually deaf. So I had this episecond in which I was terrified that they would shoot her. I really was. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But it was terrifying. But it was also important. You saw it. They took me to the FBI booking center in Miramar. After it was fingerprinted, had my mugshot. Then they took me to the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale. They put me in a holding cell with 4 African Americans. I patiently explained to them the 1994 crime bill and why Bill Clinton and Joe Biden are no damn good. By the time I leave the cell to go be arraigned, they're chanting, "Roger Stone did nothing wrong."
Oh yeah, isn't that great?
And then I pled, and the whole media's all there. I pled not guilty. By the way, I had the leg irons on as well.
I didn't know they put leg irons on you too.
Oh yes. Yeah, that's part of the.
You can outrun them.
It's part of the humiliation ritual.
Of course it is. You should only use things. I mean, I was taught this. You only use things in law enforcement that have a practical necessity. Now, you're not supposed to humiliate. I mean, that's completely a violation of the rules of ethics.
And here's
all the rules that govern prosecutors. It disgusted me. I spent my life really believing that, Roger.
Well, here's
and
the real.
You can't believe the decomposition I went through as I watched that. It almost made me want to vomit to watch what they were doing.
But here's the real irony. So they argued. The argument was that they had to arrest me in this way because I was a flight risk. Yet when we go to arraignment, they don't ask for any cash bail. They release me on my signature. So if I was a flight risk, why didn't they ask for cash bail? They knew I wasn't a flight risk. I didn't have a valid passport. They knew that. There was not a gun in the house. They knew that. And thanks to them, I'm completely recognizable. Where was I going to go?
And you've never committed a crime.
I had no previous record. So
now they let people go. There's a guy who killed somebody they let go the other day in New York because he had never committed one before. I guess you get your first murder for nothing.
So after I was arraigned, and they agreed to release me, I'm on probation. My lawyers say, we'll go down through the basement. We'll slip out the back door. I said, no, we're not doing that.
God for you.
I went out in front of the courthouse. And as you know what I did, I know
what you did.
Because you have to show them they didn't break you. It is essential that you show them they haven't broken your spirit.
100%.
And you haven't been crushed.
That was a great moment, too. I had a rule. I don't know who taught it to me. Maybe Ray. I don't know. Very often there'd be like problems when I was mayor, big demonstrations. So we're going to go in the back door. I said, mayor doesn't go in the back door. If you can't secure the front door for the mayor of New York, you can't police New York.
Yes, good point.
So I'm going in the front door and I'm coming out the front door. F them. And I think that's really, really important because when they see you, they know they won now. They know they won when they see you with your head down. And the thing great about him was he never put his head down.
Well, what was interesting was I was arrested at 6:06. Of course, there's 6:06 in the morning. There's a full camera crew from CNN 25 feet from the front door.
Now, that's prosecutably illegal.
So here's what we know.
They had to have told them.
Here's what we know. Someone from CNN texts my lawyer and says, your client has just been arrested. He doesn't know yet. He says, arrested for what? She sends him a copy of my sealed indictment. It's still sealed. It isn't unsealed until 11:30 that morning. It's now 6:06 in the morning. It has no court stampings or any timestamp on it. But if you look at the metadata tags, it has the initials of the person who wrote it, Andrew Weissman, meaning he was also the person who leaked it to CNN.
A monster.
We told the judge that. The judge could care less. So the idea that CNN won an award for their incisive investigative reporting that they guessed I was going to be. No, they had a tip from Andrew Weissman. They had my sealed indictment 4 hours before it was unsealed.
Is he individually the subject of an investigation?
I think he certainly has to be part of the investigation on this, on the seditious conspiracy.
His selection makes Garland a defendant in the case because as an intelligent attorney general, you never would have selected him for a sensitive investigation. He had a history of being an abusive prosecutor, the worst in the Justice Department.
And he was, as we now know, the de facto head of the
including a case 9-0 by the Supreme Court, in which he framed the governor of Virginia.
Correct.
And the Supreme Court reversed it 8-0. There was an abstention. But not only that, there are 4 Office of Professional Responsibility reports on him going back to when he was a decrepit juvenile delinquent prosecutor. He would have to have been described as the worst prosecutor in the Justice Department. Now, I put together special prosecutors because I had to in the Reagan administration with the Attorney General. You pick the most neutral people you can find. When you pick somebody like this, you want to kill the guy that you're going after.
Well, I mean, the chief prosecutor in my case was a woman named Jeannie Rhee. She had, in private practice, she had represented Hillary Clinton on the illegal email server case.
That's exactly what you don't do.
The judge ruled that was not a conflict of interest, even though I had written extensively about in criticism of Hillary Clinton in my 2015 book, The Clinton's War on Women. So every one of the prosecutors in my case had previously worked for Hillary Clinton in an appointed capacity. It was a travesty.
And they know. I mean, the Justice Department is filled with like about 7,000 lawyers, 5,000 lawyers, 8,000 lawyers. 70% of them are apolitical and very good. So if I were putting together in my naive days a special prosecutor to do a political case, I'd pick a guy that's non-political. And there are plenty of them. There are plenty of prosecutors that have their interest is the law. They don't have strong political biases. Well, when you get into something like this, that's what you want. You want to make sure you can get an honest legal opinion, not one determined by your political biases, particularly in an era in which we have a very hard time overcoming it.
But let's remember that Robert Mueller was essentially selected by Rod Rosenstein.
Right.
The Attorney General at the time was Jeff Sessions, who had recused himself. And as we now know, Mueller, I think even then, was non-compos mentis. He proved that in his congressional testimony.
I thought he was when I first took over the defense and went to meet him, and I had known him before, and I talked to him, and it didn't seem to me it was the same guy.
Yeah. So, but Weissman this is a guy, Weissman, who got his start covering up mob murders in Brooklyn. Then he destroyed the Enron Corporation.
They're terrible.
Where he gets reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court. He destroys Arthur Anderson.
Prior to all this, there's a book about what a terrible prosecutor is.
Yes, he's a disaster. I have a friend who's making a documentary on him.
You know, even if it wasn't true, if you were an honest AG, you wouldn't pick him for the to create the appearance of impropriety. Even if you said, oh my goodness, it's not true, you're not going to vindicate him by putting him in that situation. All you're going to do is, if in fact you didn't have a press that's totally biased, so Garfield says, I can pick anybody I can pick anybody I want. I can go pick Hillary Clinton to prosecute the case. Nobody's going to care. But they get away with what we don't get away with, and it's made them totally corrupt.
It is completely amazing. And of course, a lot of Republicans kept saying, oh, let Mueller do his job. No, the whole thing was a fraud. Weissman knew back from his time as the general counsel of the FBI that the Steele dossier was a fabrication. He knew that, yet they continued to use it as the rationale for Mueller's appointment. They continued to use it as the rationale for the FISA warrants that were, as you know, used to spy on Donald Trump and his campaign.
Yeah, the perjury of James Cardinal Comey on the FISA warrants is as clear as the nose on my face. And the fact that we passed on it and didn't prosecute it gave him a signal that we won't do anything. I mean, he absolutely knew that information wasn't true. He absolutely knew that he didn't validate it. And he signs an affidavit saying he did. Well, he even later tells the president it's not validated, even though he had signed an affidavit saying
it. Rosenstein testified in the Senate that he never authorized the investigation into Roger Stone. I have the scope memo that he signed on October 17th of 2018, which was 3 weeks after Robert Mueller learned that there was no Russian collusion. So it proves that my prosecution was just politically malicious. Yet he lies about that under oath to the Senate. There are no repercussions.
And those don't relate just to Roger Stone or me or Bannon or whoever you want to pick. They relate to our country. You can't we've probably had a lot of political corruption involving money and stuff like that. I don't remember an era of our becoming a banana republic with the criminal justice system. Maybe we had one, but I don't remember a prominent one where we were going after each other criminally. We never had a president that indicted a prior president before.
No.
We sort of thought that, and even President Trump felt maybe we shouldn't do that with Hillary.
No, I think
we're stepping over a line.
He put the good of the country ahead.
He knew she was guilty.
Yes, but he thought it would be better for the country to not prosecute her. And of course, in return for that sound judgment, they tried to bankrupt him. They tried to keep him off the ballot in all 50 states. They tried to throw him in jail. And frankly, they tried to kill him at least twice.
I'm glad you said that. It's illogical that wouldn't be part of it. So what does that mean, Ted? Ted is, well, I'm going to take a break. Ted is going like breaking my neck. He's doing these mafia things. He's doing these mafia things here. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back, and we'll figure out what we're doing. Ted demands it.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
We're back, Mayor. I was asking Mr. Stone about President Nixon
Oh, I think that's going to come out too.
and Watergate.
That'll eventually come out. Ready? Welcome back to America's Mayor Live with Roger Stone. We're having a really, really interesting discussion with Ted is trying to cut off, but we're not going to let him. So I want your wisdom, because you are one of the people who, not very many, who has a big view of politics. Where's this all going? Where's America going?
I think Donald Trump is about to prove why he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize.
You sure does.
Right now, if I were Vladimir Putin, I'd be poring over The Art of the Deal. I'd have it translated. I'd be reading every word. The president is above all a great negotiator and deal maker. There's no way in the world he would be having this meeting if he didn't know what the desired result would be. He sent Steve Witkoff, who's an enormously able man, ahead as kind of the scout to see where things are. Now they've announced they're going to meet in Alaska. I think it may be premature to say peace is at hand, but I think the president would not be doing this if he didn't think everything was lined up. I'll remind you, Joe Biden blurted out before the war that he would have been willing to give Vladimir Putin certain parts of Ukraine to avoid war. So he blurted it out. Trump's got a tough road here, but this idea that Putin wants to gobble up all of Ukraine and then Poland and then Germany and then is nonsensical. Mayor, we signed two agreements: the Budapest Memorandum and the Minsk Accords, in which we agreed in return for the reunification of East and West Germany that we would not push Ukraine into NATO. We said it in writing. James Baker, Secretary of State, signed for the United States. We have violated that. We have insisted on pushing Ukraine into NATO, which, as far as Putin is concerned, is defined as U.S. NATO missiles on the ground pointed at Russia, which he finds unacceptable. Just as John Kennedy found Russian missiles 90 miles off our shore in 1962 unacceptable. So I think we are very close. I think Trump is going to go down with the greatest single accolade that history can bestow, and that is that of peacemaker.
I think that's correct. And anybody can find a solution to this, given the relationships he has and the ability he has to think at so many different levels. It's him. And the meeting is going to be critically important because a lot with him is personal interchange and being able to interpret people. So, but there's so much else, China, and I just feel that he'll get a lot done, but we need another Republican term, at least one more, because if they come back in 2 more years or 3 more years, they're going to reverse everything on day one.
Oh, but if
and they've gotten worse. Meanwhile, they're off the charts now. It's like unimaginable. When Pocahontas came to New York and said that Mondami is the face of the Democratic Party,
That's
I
scary.
said, "You got to be kidding me!
It's scary.
A communist?"
If Trump continues to deliver unprecedented peace and prosperity, there is no reason whatsoever why they should make a comeback.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's
they.
right.
I don't think they will. It's funny to watch. I did Laura Loomer's show the other night, and she said, "Well, we're going to lose the House." You don't know that. How could you
who said that?
possibly? Laura Loomer, my friend. I said, "How could you possibly know that? In American politics, a week is a lifetime. You don't know what
Of course, there's no way if we're going to win or lose it right now.
Impossible to say.
100%.
Anything is possible, but at the rate we're going, in the month of June, we had the first surplus in 15 years. This economy is going to boom. Once we get a Federal Reserve chairman who will actually pay attention to the inflation rate and the unemployment rate, because right now unemployment and inflation are either at the same level or lower than they were the last 4 times the Fed cut rates. And then he's resisting a rate cut because he fears the Trump boom in our economy. But once we get an interest rate cut, which we're going to get out of a new Fed chairman, if we don't get it out of this Fed chairman, then I think there's no
and the
reason.
new appointment that Trump has is going to put a lot of pressure on him.
That's right. There's no reason why we should lose the midterm elections, and there's no reason why we should lose the White House in 4 years. But we're not even a year into the first term, and people are handicapping 2028. I think it's a little premature.
I think if people would just sit back and take a look, this is a lot more than we expected.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, he's gotten a lot further, a lot quicker than certainly I thought. And I'm a pretty darn optimistic person. I know you are too. So thank you very much, Roger. We're going to keep in touch. I think there's now. Where can they find you? Tell us where they can find you.
So
you have to listen to the wisdom of this
So you
man.
can go to stonezone.com. It's my website, stonezone.com. You can hear me at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 nights a week at wabcradio.com. You can also find me on Sundays at WABC Radio from 3 to 5, 2 hours every Sunday afternoon in the
Excellent.
Roger Stone Show.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, we're back. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live. And we are in Las Vegas, and we have with us someone whose face the Ayatollah doesn't want to see. In fact, he wants to kill him. And he doesn't want to see him because every time he appears, there's extremely bad news for one of the biggest homicidal maniacs in the world, the Ayatollah, who has been one of the favorites of Democratic presidents to the tune of 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion that they gave him. These are things I don't even understand, and we'll go over it at some point. I do not understand how President Obama gave him cash and he used it to kill people, including Americans. And Obama had to know that. And we'll explain that some other time. So now we're at a very strange point right now. It seems like everything is it's like the quiet before the storm. The president has given them some time to sort of analyze their position. And what he wants, which I think is not going to happen, is for them to say, we agree that we will not enhance uranium in any way, not 2%, not 1%, not 0.25%. No, we don't need any uranium. We don't need any nuclear materials because we don't have to heat Iran with nuclear power. Since we have so much oil, we don't know what to do with it. This is a little ridiculous. Plus, since you caught us with these big missiles that could reach the United States. Excuse me if we're not worried that you want to kill us. Also, the fact that you chant it all the time gets me nervous also. Death to America, death to America, death to America. So we're in this period now. I don't know exactly what we're doing right now or what they're doing. I don't think we're negotiating anymore. I don't know what there is to negotiate. But I want to ask you, because you have the ability to get for us kind of sense of what's going on inside Iran, what's going on inside the country. There's this feeling that goes beyond me. I hear people say it all the time, that things are so bad they could overthrow the regime. Now, how does that happen when you have a regime with a big military? And if you try to overthrow them, they're going to take that military and they're going to turn them against the people, and they're going to shoot them, and they use tanks, and they're going to use. Don't you have to have some kind of countervailing military?
Well, certainly when you are dealing with a repressive regime that has survived only on terrorism, development of nuclear weapons, missiles, killing their own people, you need to be able to confront them strongly and push them back. The problem the mullahs have is that even though they have the guns and the military and all the money and resources, the biggest thing that counts is actually the people of Iran, which they, for a time, they managed to beguile them, to trick them, but no longer. The vast majority of the Iranian people are opposed to this regime. There have been several rounds of major uprisings in Iran engulfing all 31 provinces that have called for, change of the regime, death to Khamenei, death to the supreme leader, death to the oppressor, whether it be the Shah or the supreme leader.
That goes back to 2019, by the way.
Right. Actually, to 2017.
2017.
2017 started. And so people are rejecting any form of dictatorship. Now, for a certain period of time, when you have the gun, you can contain the population, you can kill them, you can do a lot of things. But in the long run, especially when things started going south for the regime and the benefits that existed for them is evaporating, that's where you feel that, they're in big trouble. For instance, the regime boasted about all these proxy groups that they have in the region, the Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Shiite militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, you name it. A good portion of them are actually gone. They're shattered. They don't exist. Assad, the biggest ally, is gone. And he talked about, I have the support of the population, especially the smaller towns and cities. Well, all of that is gone. Now it's those who are revolting against the regime are the poor, the deprived. Those who used to be the bedrock of support for the regime are now opposed to the Ayatollahs. And third, you have an organized force, people who have invested all their life in fighting the regime, in building a structure that has the ability to confront the regime, building the structure that has the ability to hurt the regime with exposing their nuclear sites, as you were saying, exposing their terror operations, acting as engine for change in Iran, offering an alternative to the public that, it has nothing to do with your religion. It's a repressive fascist regime that is using religion as a cover. Here's a platform. Here's the separation for religion and state, gender equality, freedom of religion, and a non-political republic form of a government. So when that situation exists for them, they're in trouble. Now, another sign of their trouble is that the regime has started hanging people, prisoners, as clear act of desperation. Since last year.
Right now, there's an execution going on.
Absolutely.
That is very, very disturbing.
Yes, against the main Iranian opposition movement, the same movement.
They've got about 8-9 people. They've moved some of them to the place where you execute.
Right.
And they've moved some of them to a place where you torture them.
Yes, there were 15 people who were associated with the MEK, which is the leading movement.
They've been arrested over a period of time.
They were arrested, over the past several years because of their involvement in the uprisings.
With MEK?
Yes, these were all MEK people that they were arrested. 2 of them were executed last week.
Right, we pointed that.
We discussed it on the show. Yes, and there was a big uproar internationally. Members of Congress condemned it. Now, yesterday, 5 others were moved from a prison to another prison, which is usually the place where they do the executions. So all of these things are clear signs of a desperate regime that can find no other solution other than just stepping up repression. But the repression gets to a point of, diminishing return that is going to backfire, as it has. There is, no dictatorship has ever ruled forever. Remember the Shah that had all the military might, he seemed to be invincible, that he even dissolved all the political parties. He said, everybody has to obey me, or else, I put you in jail and kill you.
That was the Shah.
The Shah,
who inherited 1/3 of his father's, 2/3 of his father's genes, and now we have his son, who's down to about 10%.
Right. And so
this guy's a real bozo. How did this guy get? You complete bozo.
Yes, well, that complete
bozo. What bozo
that you
means? Bozo's a clown, and of course they do call him the clown prince.
They do, because he tried to imitate as though he's talking about democratic values, but he's reaching out to the Revolutionary Guards, the most repressive forces in Iran that are killing Americans, killing Iranians, killing other nations. They're running the machinery of terrorism. You don't reach out to them to bring about a change and establish a government that will be better than the Ayatollahs. You fight them, you confront them, you end their rule. That's why he may show up here and there and make some noise, but the reality on the ground is that there is a growing momentum.
Within Iran, I think this is universally accepted. They either don't know who he is, or they really despise him when they hear the name Shah. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter. And there isn't the feeling. There's a little feeling in the West. Oh, he'd be better than the Ayatollah.
Well, I think the Ayatollah is not a good gauge, because if you have the Ayatollah as a gauge, any criminal in the world would look like a chorus boy. The gauge is like the desire of the people for change. The gauge is the history and culture of a nation.
I'll tell you what he assures. He assures bringing the Ayatollah back, because his father created the Ayatollah.
Yes.
By his brutal, corrupt, inhumane, disgusting things that he did. So when this guy does the same thing, he's not. I mean, it's almost ridiculous to talk about. I can't imagine he even has the. He's just not going to get there. He's just not going to get there.
No, well, it's not going to happen. But the outcome is actually helping the regime.
Pardon me?
The outcome of his engagements, activities, the things he puts out is actually helping keeping the regime in power.
I think
That's why they're opening doors for him. That's why these Revolutionary Guards are in contact with him.
I see some of the same people that opposed us in trying to get you delisted, and who I consider to be like maybe Iranian spies. They're the same people in the State Department and whatever who are supporting this guy, which means they don't have the best interest of the Iranian people in mind.
Let me talk to you about the how the regime operates. You takes advantage of the others. We were just talking about the terror network of the Iran regime in our press conference yesterday.
Tell us about the press conference.
Right. We had this press conference talking about the terror network that very little is actually known about it. We said two things. Number one, the supreme leader Khamenei. He's not just the supreme leader of the regime. He's on top and in charge of all activities related to terrorism. There's not a single terrorist activity that's taken place under the rule of the clerics in the past 46 years that wasn't ordered, approved, or supervised by the supreme leader Khamenei. That's so important. Second, there were other institutions that are put together, like the Minister of Intelligence is in charge of basically organizing and coordinating terrorist activities, working with the Foreign Ministry. We're working with the intelligence organization of the IRGC. But what we also found very disturbing, for instance, is that you saw, like, in 2018, when we had that big rally in Paris, that you were also there, and many other dignitaries from around the world were there speaking. And, you probably see the picture here. There were like dozens and dozens of parliamentarians, sitting members of parliament from Europe, different countries, from the United States. You were there, so many people. The keynote speaker was Mrs. Rajavi, and the regime had plotted to bomb that place. And of course, the perpetrator of the terror was arrested. So many people were arrested. But who was really behind it? The organization that was behind it. And they traced it, not only the supreme leader, but there was a person called Reza Amiri Muqaddam, okay, who was basically calling the shots that. And then there was another case in Albania where before that, in March, that again, there was another terror plot. Another person, Ghulam Hussein Mohammadia, was expelled by the Albanian government. He was the ambassador of the regime in Albania. Now, who are these two people? Now, both of these people were part of negotiating team of Iran in dealing with the United States. First, in 2007, when Ryan Crocker in Iraq was negotiating with the Iranian counterpart, across from the table were the Quds Force commanders, and then Reza Amiri Muqaddam, the guy with the red circle around his head. He's the guy who was negotiating with the Americans about the security of Iraq, whereas he was the guy who was sending the bombs to target Americans. The EFBs, the explosively formed projectiles that penetrated through armor, killing Americans. When it came to the JCPOA in 2015, part of the negotiating team, the JCPOA sitting across the table from John Kerry and John Kerry, Ernest Moniz, and Wendy Sherman.
He's the one who took the camcorder with him to Korea to record his 3 Purple Hearts, none of which put him in a hospital for more than half a day. It was like
right.
His worst injury was
ahead of
his worst injury is considered less than a tooth extraction.
Yes, and so he was the head of the negotiating team in the United States.
Oh yeah.
On the other side was sitting Ghulam Hussein Mohammadia, the guy who was expelled later by the Albanian government for terrorism. Pardon me?
How much did Kerry sell us out?
Well, under different administrations, when they were giving concessions, they sent cash, pallets of cash to the Iran regime, rewarding them in order to get the hostages out, not realizing that, you're turning hostage-taking, hostage diplomacy, the most profitable business for the mullahs. Tehran took more hostages.
Yeah, so which we encouraged from day one with another incompetent Democrat president, Jimmy Carter, by allowing them to take our hostages for
444 days.
444 days. We made one ridiculous attempt in which we didn't even get there. Our helicopter fell down to recover them. And we just did anything they said. not the time to do it. But I absolutely am assured and know how you deal with hostages to end it.
Right. Firmness, decisiveness, sending a strong signal that you're not negotiating, you're not going to reward hostage taking and terrorism. So the bottom line is that, Mayor, now the people of Iran have made it very clear that change in Iran will have to come from the people of Iran.
So
Why the people of Iran?
Here's the question that everybody asked me, and Dr. Maria, who's sitting right there, asked the question too. How do you? They've got the Revolutionary Guard, they have the Quds Force as the little group inside it, right? And they have an army whose loyalty they may or may not have, the rest of the army. And I assume they don't have the complete loyalty of the rest of the army. So what kind of military strength can they show against that if the Ayatollah makes the decision, I'm going to put them in the streets and just kill people?
Well, you know, a revolution wouldn't happen in a vacuum. It comes as a result of change of momentum. Because otherwise, the balance of power will never change. The government will always be more powerful. They have more weapons. They have more power than the population. And but when the momentum shifts, for instance, what we saw during the protests in Iran, when you have the population against the regime, when you have an organized force committed to bringing about change, when you have the outside world holding the regime accountable, instead of giving them cash, that momentum shifts. And that's what happened, for instance, in Syria, that within 11 days, the whole regime went down.
I agree with that, but here's the problem. When that momentum shifts and you make your move on them in order to take over, because the Shah too, the Ayatollah is falling. Suppose they put up a resistance with tanks and machine guns, and how do you overcome that? Do they have, is there, and if you can't reveal it, tell me you can't. Is there within Iran the capacity to take them on militarily if it's necessary?
It is. You see, there's what they call the resistance units formed by the main Iranian opposition, the MEK, which is the same force that the regime fears the most, the same force that exposed.
It's a fighting force.
It's a fighting force.
There's no question. There's a fighting
and of course,
force.
you know,
is what kind of armaments do they have?
Well, that fighting force, when you combine that with the population, which is against the regime, that's a combination that the regime cannot tolerate. Second, you know, when the momentum shifts, remember, like in the last days of the Shah, even though until the very last day, the military of the Shah was in the street threatening people to shoot them, kill them. They killed a lot of people. But as soon as the momentum shifted, people basically disarmed the Shah's army. They went, you know, there's a lot of weapons in Iran.
So
it's just all about, you know, how the outside world would recognize the right of the people to change their regime, the right of the people to confront the Revolutionary Guards, to hold the regime accountable. Don't give them cash, don't give them legitimacy. Make it very clear to the public in Iran that the world is standing on the side of the people, not the regime. That's what when we talk about the shift of the momentum, we saw some signs of it, but we need to make that as a policy, because the past 46 years has always been a policy of appeasement dominant in the United States and in Europe.
There's no question about that. It irritates me no end. I do not understand what this romance with the Ayatollah, the two Ayatollahs, is, why we're so accommodating. But the reality is we're right there now. They're weak as hell. There are a couple of things that have to be overcome. And the one back next week, and we're going to do more exploration of this. It may not be necessary, but what you don't want to happen is that they get a pushback militarily and they can't respond to it, because that would end it for a while. So we're going to discuss the alternatives, and nobody knows this better than Ali Reza. So we're probably going to have him back next week. So you better stay on. You better stay on the radar.
Always a pleasure, Mayor, to be on your show. You are the best educator I've ever
Oh.
found.
So tomorrow we are really looking forward.
One more segment.
Oh, one more. Okay. Well, we'll be right back. We have one more segment. Okay.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
I'm from
I'm
around.
sorry.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Here we are in Las Vegas. We're in the West. We're not terribly far from Oregon, Washington, places that somehow we can simplify into thinking they don't exist anymore in a cloud of marijuana and cannabis that's coming out of all the stores
Oh, boy.
everywhere, and nobody can make a sensible decision anymore because there's so much marijuana around and cannabis. But in any event, Don Powers is the Republican chair
Of Congressional District 6.
of Congressional District
Yeah.
6. And in Oregon, I know there's a pushback on all of this. There's sort of and this has to happen because these are really sensible people ultimately. It's gone
Absolutely.
too far, right?
Way too far. And the challenge is our state is captured, right? We've got the left that controls every lever of power. They control the school boards, they control the judiciary,
Is it
the
different?
unions control all
Is it
of
different than
all of it.
Washington
So,
or the state?
I think it's deeper because we don't have the huge
Oh.
population that they have. And so everything that they're doing across the country, you see, they did it in Oregon first. For example, mail-in voting. So before we started mail-in voting in Oregon, we were the first state to do it. Before we
God.
started, about two-thirds of the time,
What a curse.
we had,
Mail-in
two-thirds of the
voting.
time, we had a Republican governor. Since we started mail-in voting, we haven't had one since.
So mail-in voting has been almost universally rejected in Europe because they couldn't do it without cheating.
Right. Because,
Even in Europe.
well, and people talk about a lot of things that we can do to fight, and we should be doing those, ballot harvesting, working within the laws or the rules that exist right now. But the bottom line is we're never going to beat these machines. Until we get rid of these machines, we can do all the things that we need to be doing. We should be doing those. That should be a continued thing that we do, even after we get rid of these machines, right? Get out the vote. All these things are important, but we're never going to beat these machines. We need to get rid of these machines.
And how big is Oregon?
Well, we got about 4.2 million people.
So you could do paper ballots.
Yeah, easy.
Paris does. France does paper ballots.
Oh yeah, and we got we call it election season out there. It takes 2 weeks to count ballots. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's insane. And
You have 4.2 million people, so you probably have an election, what, of 2 million?
yeah, a little over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very frustrating. You know,
You could count that. You could count that between 9 o'clock and midnight.
especially at the district, you know, at their district levels within the district.
Sure.
You know, what we really need out there in the West is because I think we get treated, you know, as this lost cause out there, right? It's so deep. It's so, you know, it's the smaller population, smaller gain. But what we really need is something like what happened in the 5th District in Texas, where they, you know, the judge, the 5th District, 5th Circuit Court, excuse me, they said that it's acceptable, it's legal to require require voter ID for mail-in vote ballots. So we need things like that. Other states to get out there and win more legislation like that. That'll help us in our battle in Oregon.
What is the chance in the Oregon legislature that you could do something like that?
Yeah,
Very small.
no. Oh, it's a super majority. They're pretty much doing anything they want. They're come out and openly. Our attorney general, along with Oregon, along with Washington, California, all three of them got together talking about how they're going to Trump-proof the state.
So how do they
reject
become?
Trump?
How did Oregon become so?
I mean, honestly, it's the mail-in voting. Think about it. If you just do the simple math, anybody, you know, logically would say, if you had a Republican mayor for 2/3 of the time, and as soon as you started mail-in voting, you haven't had one since. Come on, something's wrong there. Just
Now,
you know,
when we
it
look
doesn't
at the
slide that fast.
population of these 4.2 million people, who are they?
Well, they're just like most states, right? You got the concentration in Portland and in the big cities. But if you look at the map for Oregon, it's red all over the place. It just, but
So Portland is very Democrat and has a big population.
that's the biggest
And
population.
Portland went nuts in 2020,
and they're still doing now,
right?
We
Portland went completely nuts.
you know, people don't realize we literally had 180 straight days of rioting, or straight
Yeah, I
nights of
remember.
rioting. I'm sorry, peaceful protests. I meant to say. But it's bad. It's still going on now. They're attacking the ICE building, the ICE facility. We just had a lady get brutalized and put in a hospital by Antifa out in front of the ICE facility there in
Antifa,
Portland. So,
Antifa, just a thought. It doesn't exist.
no.
That's what Obama. That's what
I
Bob
hope-
Baggs.
I hope Joe Kent will, who's
Antifa
from
is
Washington.
just a thought.
Yeah.
There were 245 Antifa members in Congress when January 6th took place, and nobody on that crooked committee ever attempted to identify a single one of them.
No.
245, and I have an email that says exactly that number. And
Interesting.
no one bothered to interview the person who wrote the email, nor did they ever try to do face recognition of the people inside. And they chase around.
they can.
There were too many FBI agents in. Yeah, you're damn right. But there were also too many Antifa people in who were pretending to be Trump people. And
Right.
January 6th, I knew the night of January 6th was a complete phony because the two women who had infiltrated Antifa brought me the tape. That also shows that. I'm going to show you this.
Yeah.
I haven't taken it off in many, many years. I'm going to take it off when they prosecute or kill her.
You got a couple of them there.
Yeah, well, that's my 9/11 one. That's another one that needs to be here.
Fantastic.
That says Ashley
Oh,
Babbitt.
Ashley, thank you for doing that.
Ashley Babbitt.
We hold
We don't-
fundraisers for
we
her
don't,
in Oregon, for her parent, for her family in Oregon.
I come from a tradition of 4 uncles who were police officers and 2 cousins. And I worked with and ran the New York City Police Department. We hold a homicide investigation open for eternity. And we sometimes solve homicides that are 100 years old. This is going to be open forever. This woman was killed.
She was
This is a
murdered.
homicide. It
Absolutely.
was an on-purpose homicide. I've prosecuted 50 of them. I knew it the minute I saw it.
And we do fundraisers
this is a
and stuff
tragedy.
for her mom, I should say. out
And
in
the
Oregon.
reason to do this is justice for her and her mom.
Right.
But also the reason we prosecute these things is called deterrence,
Right.
so that people won't do them again.
That's something two things I want to tell you. First of all, I appreciate you so much because you had the foresight to start gathering evidence really early on that J6 stuff when a lot of people were so busy,
We got it all. Yeah.
but you got it all. And that's
Even
important.
Republicans
So I
ignore it.
appreciate that very much. There's a saying that a friend of mine said, she said that, and I really like it. She said, it isn't the severity of the penalty, it's the assurance of it. Right.
Yes.
And that's part of the problem we have going on in our country right now with what's happened with the Obama administration and all of these people. It's if we don't see a perp walk here, it's good. People are going to lose a lot of faith because the only way we're going to stop this from happening again is that we actually have the assurance that they're going to go to jail.
Yeah, I know we usually do this. Person is innocent until proven guilty, and that is normally right. But there's too much evidence.
There's so much.
It's been shoved down our throat for 5 years. James Comey lied on the Pfizer affidavit 4 times. Terrible lies in order to frame a president. What the hell is he doing walking free? I mean, it's nobody else would. So.
Well, and it emboldens things like what's happening in my state and others too. But I mean, it emboldens the legislature in the other states to be able to feel like they can do whatever they want to because there's no
You
consequence.
feel any change going on?
Yeah, there
little.
has been, people are getting a little bolder too, which is nice and starting to push back. We've actually had a couple of wins in the legislature. We've got a couple of really good organizations. If I may, one of them is called the Oregon Freedom Coalition. Led by one of our legislators, Ed Deal, and he's doing an amazing job of strategies, short-term and long-term strategies.
Take a look at that.
So Oregon Freedom Coalition. If you get a chance in Oregon or in the country, look them up. They're doing some great work in our state. So I really appreciate it.
People only can take so much.
Yeah,
and there's got to be a point in which this flips.
Yeah,
but who knows when?
I feel like if it's not now, while we have Trump in office and all this momentum, if we let them have it again, I don't know if we're going to get. We're going to get it back.
Well, let's work on what we have now. But I think this needs 8 to 12 years.
Yeah.
It's 4. And then
they've been doing it for decades. We're not going to turn it over in one term. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got to fight. And I think we'll get America back if we do that. We'll even get the Democrat Party back to what it used to be.
Right.
I mean, it used to be an American party. And now, I don't know, it sounds like it's working for China or.
Well, it sure isn't working for America.
Oh,
look what's happening in your formerly wonderful city of New York. It's
beyond anything I could possibly have imagined.
Yeah.
That a communist is running, and he's not even embarrassed to tell you he's a communist.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some communists that ran that lied about it. But this guy,
we're flooded
tells
with it.
The truth.
We're flooded with it in Oregon. Let me just tell you why, from the top down. So I thank you.
Well, Don, thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
Congratulations. We'll keep in touch because we're very interested in
Enjoy the rest
seeing what happens. This is too beautiful a country.
Amen.
To give to them, and we're not going to give it to them.
No.
It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the people who believe in the Bill of Rights, the people who believe that those rights come from God and nobody can take them from us.
Amen.
And that's why we're the greatest country on earth. No secret. Well, thank you.
Yes, we are.
Thank you very much.
Real pleasure. Appreciate you.
So we have the weekend coming up, and while we're here enjoying things at this great program with the Gateway Pundit, you've got to pray for Israel. You have to pray for Ukraine. You have to pray for Iran. You have to pray for all the people that are in harm's way. You got to pray for Christians. Nobody thinks about the Christians that are being wiped out by the Muslims. They are.
Amen.
By the way, Christians have been wiped out by Muslims since Muhammad started doing it. And Jews.
Yep.
Both of us. And when we wake up to that and deal with it in a sensible, honest way, it's going to stop. So pray for the president. Toughest job, and he's doing a great job, but he still needs your help.
Yeah.
God bless America.
God bless America. Amen.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained by rational principles. The reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,